Thank you. Welcome to another taping of Real Talk for Men. I'm the host, Robert Williams. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, evening, or morning, whenever you get a chance to view this. Please subscribe and like our YouTube channel to keep you updated on all episodes coming up in the future. And also please encourage everyone on YouTube to actually give a comment and feedback of your feelings about today's topics and give an input, because it's not just about us discussing it. This is about having a conversation and talking in a different way to get to better resolutions by having better conversations. Today's topic we're going to discuss is going to be the good word, education. Small word, but powerful. And we must examine the different layers or types of education, and we must engage in more dialogue, not less. It seems like we have all, as people, co-signed that we've been told that we use 5%, 10% of our brain, but I don't know where's a law written to say that we can't use more. So hopefully when we look at the word education and get bigger pictures, we can get better resolution. And you get that by getting information, analytical, wisdom, that's sometimes related to history. These are different forms of education. And the question I have today for my panel is, what must we do on the grassroots level, on any level? I don't even like the word grassroots, but it's something that's used, but that means just on a one-on-one level, different techniques that we can do to increase our education. Before I do that, before we get into the topic, let me introduce my panel this afternoon, day, evening. I apologize for that. To my right, you have Mr. Kenneth Walker, looking stoic and stern and everything. He can smile. He ain't got to be that serious, right? Then you have Mr. Carlton, Neal. And to my left, you have Mr. Lawrence Clark and Mr. Dremere, Foxworth. Did I say last name correct, or was it Foxworth? Okay, I thought it was a word there first. So I want to make sure I said that correct. The gentlemen can definitely speak when they're talking and let you know what they're doing in their lives themselves, but everyone at this table has been a very active member of the community, have been entrepreneurs, and just are rolling up their sleeves to do the work. So I'm going to jump right in to reiterating something I said at one of the breakfasts. The challenges in our black community with our youth is our education system. It's kind of been a joke since I was a kid, and it seems to keep getting worse. But we have a lot of good people that came from these same schools that we need to remember. And we need to get up to show that I went to Allenby High School. It's a charter school now in the city of Philadelphia. It's a school that produced a lot of good people. So we know our schools, and some of us that went to these schools are having unbelievable challenges today. But I think that's the crux of our situation is our failing schools, where we say it, but what's the fix? One of the fixes I think may be is to encourage black men to get into early education, early learning education, in the classrooms with the teaching. No disrespect to anyone that's trying to do the job, but we need more black men in our schools to teach. And hopefully we could utilize loan forgiveness programs or other programs to encourage more, especially when they're young, to get into teaching. They might not say teaching forever, but we got to do whatever we can to increase our presence. And also, while we got many dollars, $100,000, $1 million being spent, what must we do to increase our own tutoring programs within our community to assist? And if we could get black men running the tutoring program, if we don't have the time to teach, that maybe that's a presence. Because any young man that's having a challenge today, especially if he's getting locked up for various reasons because of the climate that he's under, one of the best ways to fix that young man is to put a book in his hand. So I'd like to open up the table. That's one of my perspectives that I've been working with. There's people out here that's already doing it. I'm happy to be joining in with them. To encourage young men to get educated. They have a college fair coming up this Saturday, actually, that I just found out about. I want to encourage, this tape might be seen later, but it's in the city of Philadelphia. What's the Saturday's date? The 16th, 14th? October 14th, they having a college fair at the convention center. That's something we should have spread out all around. This tape might be seen after that is done, but hopefully we can all use our social media to at least inform our young black men and hopefully take some of them down there to give them some encouragement. So I'd like to open the floor up to ask the question, what must we do to educate and increase our education, not just with our young men, but with all of our people? Anyone to go first?
I guess I open the table. I ain't no problem. I love to talk. Destroy the education system.
Okay. What's the replacement?
The replacement is that before you could do any form of teaching, the person that you teaching must know who he is and who you are. And once that is moved from your conscious mind not knowing who you are, then you are vulnerable for any type of pollution or indoctrinate education that would never teach you to do what? To excel in life, to do for self, and also build economics for yourself. So, destroy it.
Anyone else?
I have a different approach. I believe it's a multifaceted type of approach where we have to have more volunteers going to the schools, especially black men in our inner cities, making it, community-based with the school. I believe when you have volunteers, there's a level of safety as well, because you have people that are from the neighborhoods or from the community. Also, businesses getting involved with the education, providing opportunities not only for children but also the parents, adults, to have employment, and we know that employment and education is paramount. And we got also our elected officials. We have to get more funding in our schools for more activities for our young people, educational activities. We know in the black community they quick to give our boys a ball, football, basketball, baseball, but how do we engage them in academics to further their education? So I believe with parents' involvement, community involvement, and also business and our political environment as well.
For myself, I agree with both parties. Along with that, since I worked at the school system, and we do definitely need men. I mean, men. Because a lot of the men that was in the school system, because I was flown from school to school, there wasn't that many men that looked like us. And the ones that I did see, there was only a few alpha men in there. Most of the men was, but you have athletes here in Philadelphia. Since they play here, they could contribute to the funding of the education. Mm-hmm. Along with that, I'm an artist. I love art. Commercials is a major part of brainwashing. Go back to the days where we used to have positive commercials when movies coming up. Mm-hmm. Keep on flooding on YouTube and everything. And then when you have podcasts, it's in the midst of your break, have a positive commercial talking about education, talking about how it's good to excel. Because, the art of how America did the education system, if you had an A, you was considered a nerd. Mm-hmm. It seemed like the United States placed so much money into entertainment more than education. Because when New Orleans had their issues, New Orleans was quick to put money into the football stadium, while the neighborhood was going down. So along with that, we just gotta you know, flood the gates with commercials, promoting education, being smart is excellent, and don't look down on it.
Mr. Neal?
Yeah, commercials. Junction, what's your phone? But yeah, you're right. I think it's first of all, it's a heavy topic, right?
Yes.
And on the account of it's a multifaceted account, and this is what I mean by that. So, my father, for instance, my father had a three-year education. He was from Bishopville, South Carolina. All right, his father wasn't around, and his mother went to Texas to take care of him, but she had to do it away. All right, he was raised by his uncles, so he came to Philadelphia, met my mom, had children. Right, I'm the youngest, but this is where the rubber meets the road. Because he didn't have an education, it was paramount for each of his children to have an education. And so I think when we're talking about school, as we should, but it starts way before that, right? It starts at home and what's expected of a child. Like right now, you have kids that's literally beating up teachers, right? That's because of what the expectation is at home. Now, whether you are a believer of the Bibles or of the Quran or whatever, but let's just agree that these books was written over 3,000 years ago. Each one of those books inside of it has, I don't want to use the word stipulation, but it tells you how important it is for a man to teach the child. Even before moms became teachers and sending them to school, it's the father's responsibility to teach the children. Always has been. Even though it slipped away, we pass it off to mom now. But because of who we are, right, in terms of how our kids listen to us, their expectations from us, the fear that just comes from even when we just raise our voice, we might not even be mad. Kid could walk in the room, mom be like, Dad, we're going to send Dad on you. He'd be like, I'm good. I ain't do nothing wrong. I'm sorry. That is the same type of mentality that we have to approach our children about education and what they need in their life to bash forward and to move forward. But if we leave things open to happenstance, like, and which a lot of us do, our kids go to school, they'll get bachelor's degrees, they get master's degrees, really without much direction in a sense from a lot of fathers. But, they want to, this is what my baby girl did, this is what my son did. But one thing I realized, man, when expectation and destiny doesn't equal up in the same intersection, it's a hard, like crash that's waiting to happen. And what I mean by that, we have to really take the reins of our children at a young age, put into them what education is, what it means, what the expectation is. Like my sons, for instance, I got, my oldest son always been a smooth dude, just always been cool, never been a problem. Now my wife, on the other hand, she comes from a boatload of ladies. They ain't never have a boy in the family. My oldest son came around. They, on the other hand, talking about my wife, oh, he is so pleasant. I'm like, thank God for this dude, but he ain't the normal one. Like, this is not the normal boy, but he was cool. My middle son came along. He was a normal boy, jumping off of roofs, jumping on the radiators, busting his head, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, trying to run across the street in front of a car. And the girls is like, is he retarded? What's wrong with him? I'm like, no, this is a normal boy. Like, this is the normal one. Like, thank God for the oldest one, but this is the normal boy. And then my youngest son came, same as the middle son, crazy, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But what happens is, because my oldest son was mild-mannered, subdued, and just bashing forward, they thought that was a norm. But they didn't have to put that work in. because he was already there. You know what I mean?
Right.
The middle one and the young one came. This way the rubber meet the road. Nah, man, you gonna go there and you gonna get this done. This is what I expect from you. If I see anything different, then it's gonna be a problem or whatever it took, right? And sometimes as parents, we have to be creative in the way we discipline our children. Right. To have them see education as something that is obtainable, something that you want. Why it's going to benefit you if you do something in a particular way, and what does that mean in your life for later on? Like, we have to find ourselves more involved in that process as parents and fathers earlier on.
Right.
Now, on the same token, reverse side, while I was in school, I had a teacher, his name was Mr. Sumter. And another teacher name was Mr. Yancey. They was them alpha dudes you was talking about. I acted up in every class but they class. Like, I went in that class, it was like...
And and it's funny, brother. I want to come back around with that to what Lawrence said in the very beginning. It's a statement to say who we are. Know yourself. When we get certain topics in the middle of the floor and the table, it's nice debates.
Right.
And it's a good thing. But that's how we get the resolutions. And a lot of times with the debates, sometimes a debate you look for a right or wrong answer. But a lot of times this is a healthy discussion because we just did a great job of going around. Now, he said no self. Most people will get a frame of thought in their mind of a certain historical impact. But you just brought a lot home with just who you are with knowing your family history. Some people don't have a family history they can connect to, but a lot of people got more than they realize.
Right.
You got to embrace the family history that you have in order to know who you are to make you stronger than the system. One thing about when we talk about politicians or politics, the one thing we will stop doing, if I have anything to do with this, I'm not asking no more. We got a demand. Our name, our voices, our energy has been taken for granted for way too long.
Yeah.
Everyone at this table knows somebody in the city of Philadelphia in office.
Yeah.
We done all been down there over and over again. And it is embarrassing as a black man coming from the city and seeing that we still got some of the same issues. Everyone else look at us and laugh like it's a joke. We always got the program begging for things to get that we need, but yet when it comes to the money coming through our communities, we're not putting enough on it to see that the job is being done. What is our return on our investment? We elect that person to get in, then in turn we got to come up with a return on our investment.
Yeah.
That's part of the game, as we say. We got to play this game a lot differently and going in the future. Then we got to get off this loyalty thing. Don't hate one party and love the other. Don't love the other party and hate the other. Let's have business meetings about what we need to do to progress. Stop the like and dislike. Because, brother, it's one thing to think about. When we look at our education system, if it is a school, which is our right by federal law for our kids to get a free education, period. Let's look at the schools better. Let's make more demand. Let's compartmentalize. I might have said the word wrong. Compartmentalize some of the categories that we should have. We should have a director of our math department from the school district all the way down to measure where we stand.
Absolutely.
And then we got to get education and not a test. So when we talk about the politicians, that's good, right? But on the other hand, let's look at making more demands on what we're not seeing. When I got involved in the school in a inner city community, we got involved in it every day. Grades went up. The energy went up. We gave the love. We put a bunch of men in the hallway. The attendance went up and the grades went up. The kids felt comfortable. They felt
Safe.
And they felt like somebody. I started playing chess. I got the kids playing intramural basketball at the time. It was somebody there every day. I missed a couple of days, and I volunteered at this school. It wasn't my plan, but I did this for almost 3 years. The people at the school thought I worked there. But I seen the impact of just having a presence. And sometimes it's not as hard as we're making it. But it's definitely, how do we get adopt a school is something we hopefully we can get into one day in the near future. But we're looking at early learning, and that's the crux. That's what I started off with. But the true education is about us as a people, the enlightenment, and not such a debate. And the question I had in the beginning, that's I think Lawrence to start off with that answer first, was knowing myself, and I definitely did start off with the education for our babies. But we got to educate our adults. We got the 18, 20-year-olds. We got the 32-year-olds, and nobody teach them how to be parents. We say the parenting is lacking, but how do we start to get creative and teach it?
You know what, Brother Rob, if I could jump in real quick.
Yes, please.
The reason I say destroy the system, first of all, this is not our system, right? And when you look at the essence of when United States in the Industrial Revolution stage, they create a curriculum to what? To build America. And that curriculum of building America was what? The farming, right? Construction, right? That's why they had these schoolhouses, school buildings moved from schoolhouses into looking like factories to educate and plant the seed that you're going to be working in a factory. So, but when our black people during the turn of the century, when they was educating our own, we didn't depend on the government. If we did have politicians, no politicians advocated for the black movement and the black education curriculum. We didn't go to the system and say, this is our curriculum, because we didn't give them that power to tell them what we could teach our own children. So again, education is based on community building. It's a nation building tool. You know what I mean? So one of the things I've noticed in the health industry, a lot of the foreigners, they get their doctorate degree, they work in the hospital for 5 to 10 years, and guess what they're doing now? They're going back home. And they're going back home because it was taught to them, go to America, get the education, and bring that technology back to us and support your village.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the point is that we have, when I say tear down the education system, means that this is a system that was never designed to help us anyway. It was to keep us dependent, right? It's keeping us to what? To stay on PHA, to stay on welfare, to stay continue dependent. Anytime they take vocational education out, anytime they took political science out of the curriculum, now they let you know that you have no right as a citizen. They let you know that you don't have no right as a human being. And then the point is that you become a robot and a zombie. So the school today is never putting our children under the spell. And that's the reason why, again, destroyed, because they're not educating, they're teaching stuff about homosexuality. Back in '96, when they were talking about multiculturalism in the public school system, I knew that was a gateway for homosexuality. And I fought hard at Hartranft to make sure they didn't bring that to Hartranft Community Center. Hartranft Elementary School.
Wow. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Please, everyone, please like and subscribe to the page. Next topic. On the same topic. He just touched on some powerful things that we need to talk about more openly. And you know, it's crazy in this country. We've allowed a lot of activity to be taken out. The decency, the respect, the energy of what it means to be a man. We have skated around this topic way too much, and we made it become a political topic to say, I'm a man. I don't know if everybody gets some of those feelings like that when you're looking at so much things in the media, but looking at it day to day, I still see regular people where it's not affecting. So sometimes they push a lot of things in media that's not always happening as much as we think, but it still have an impact on us in an indirect way because it's pushed. So I guess to me, when we look at how do we find a way to just keep enlightening our own people ourselves?
Well, I was still stuck off of what Lauren said earlier about India and how they came back.
Yes.
And I get frustrated with black people in inner cities. Inner cities have made us tough. be able to endure a lot, but we quote unquote identify success as leaving our community, leaving our home versus coming back and sharing what we learned, and empowering our community, our families to say, look, I did it, you can do it too, and coming in the community and uplifting the community versus going somewhere else where you're not really invited and they don't want you to be there, and where you can come back to your home where you can be celebrated. Some people look at it as being, they'd be hated on, but you'll be celebrated by coming back to your community. And so I just wanted to, because it was just stuck there. I was just in that zone.
And you touched on something very powerful. When our communities were self-contained and we pushed and respected education, I don't want to promote getting a degree. I want to promote going to college to get an education. We did do that. See, we don't talk about that enough. When we look at hear the term the Black Wall Street, everybody's been talking about it now. I know about it since I was a child. Most people never heard about it, but that's what they did. And yes, most of our neighborhoods that many people come from, our North Philly neighborhood in Philadelphia, come to find out, there was a big red line drawn through our community. So many of our people that actually went to school, went to college, they stayed within the neighborhood longer than sometimes we realized. They made efforts, they made attempts. I even found the information because somebody else showed me the research that they attempted to do more than we realized. When there's a red line, we can't get financing. So making that other community look more attractive for you to move to. And they're about pulling us away. This is why it drives me crazy. We got to learn from this lesson. This is the education. So when we do migrate to another neighborhood, especially in the county, we don't take that same mentality and don't realize that if we go to certain areas, we can take it over. It is not a problem to gradually move. But in the city of Philadelphia, like our major cities around the country, there were red lines. So when you hear the glory days, when we had the black businesses, they worked. But during somewhere, I can't say exactly what year, 60s, 70s, maybe even the 80s, there was a red line. And I found out many people tried to do many things in our community to bring us back, to keep us around. You had the churches that could go through our neighborhoods where the people lived in the community. Now, when the gangs and everything got accused of that, the gangs always been around since the 20s and the 30s. But how they started operating for economics, because the factory started leaving, you had something called this war, that war. Heroin was dumped into our communities, making it difficult for people to change it around. Those are the lessons that we know, but we got to really look at how that had an impact. Because what I said, when I did the stuff in North Philly, I said the biggest challenge in my inner city neighborhood, I'm an accountant. There's no accounting offices in my black neighborhood. I go through my black neighborhoods. I don't see a legal office, a law office. We do got some doctor's offices that's still around, fortunately, and we might find a dentist here and there. But you go through other parts of the neighborhood, other parts of the city, you see them all near the plazas. So it is something to be said. Why do we get educated? Why do we go to college? See, we've been trained to go to college like a trade school, get a good job, and move on. Education is about passing on to others. Economically, we all still need to eat, don't get me wrong. But it's not as hard as sometimes we make it. And the biggest thing I think we got to educate ourselves with is our own stereotypes with ourselves. People who make sometimes the most money are not the smartest. Sometimes the people who seem like they can't find themselves got their knowledge, but yet we got to learn how to use that. So there's education. Coming back, even if we don't change our zip code, I've never personally ran away from my own people. But I was criticized by my own educated black people in a meeting in City Hall, around the City Hall area, and told me I was wasting my time for incorporating my ex-gang into a community organization. Why am I wasting my time? If I didn't do what I did, I wouldn't have met you.
Can you say that again? Now, what they say to you again?
I was wasting my time.
Who said that?
Some African American seem to be successful
And I'm glad you said that. Let me tell you why. Before I answer that, when I want to say this, just to put it on the table. What language, let me rephrase that. The English language was created in what country?
In England?
Anybody know?
Come on, things here
No,
in
we're
America.
speaking. English language was created by black people here in America. Over in England, they were speaking Latin till 200
Right.
years ago. So meaning that we already have that natural gift of consciousness and being educated. Now back to what you were saying about what they said. We are our biggest enemy because I'm going to give you 2 historical buildings that is in North Philadelphia, and it took black politicians telling rich black people they're not going to support it. Let's take the Uptown. Back in the 80s, when they fell, Teddy Pendergrass wanted to buy the Uptown. Temple said, told the black politicians, y'all better not support it. So that's one. The sister that used to own the boxing thing,
Blue Horizon, yeah.
Ed Rendell smashed that deal, even though she did some bad stuff too. But again, Temple said no because they didn't want to have no competition when they was building the Lear Core Center.
You also have the on Ford in Fairmont, the Black Hotel.
Yeah, Divine.
Father
Yeah,
Divine.
yeah.
So you see that again. You can have all the let me phrase that. You could be educated, and it's all about the curriculum and what's designed to keep us down. So these blacks who told Brother Rob, why you want to help your own people, they was educated by a system that is designed to keep us suppressed. So we have to be careful on this topic. What Brother Carlton said, this is a heavy topic. Because there's a lot of layers we got to pull back. You know what I mean? The point is that, again, that until you know who you are, you cannot be educated, or you can't have the possibility to learn anything if you don't know who you are. You leave yourself very vulnerable for anything to be poured into your conscious mind and be polluted. So the first thing, I'm telling you, you got to know who you are. And when I first heard that speech 40 years ago from Malcolm X, it messed me up. Who are you? Because every nationality know who they are. And that's why they thrive, because you cannot move them from their foundation and from their base. Rob, I'll sit back.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Just piggybacking off what the brothers were saying, to love yourself, you have to know yourself. A lot of individuals don't know themselves. And I'm down with destroying the curriculum of the school system. Why we have to wait until you're in 11th, 12th in college to learn survival skills? Everything should be taught at a young age. You should bring in, we're all people. I don't care what nationality you are. We all should be able to communicate. Braille should be added into the school curriculum. Sign language. When you become an adult, which should be taught at an early age, life insurance, home insurance, survival stuff, taxes, everything. But they just teach us the basics and everything. If you look over in Asia, this is how much other countries admire education. They have on the cover a tutor, like what you had mentioned earlier in your statement, on the front cover. And they make a lot of money. Tutor here in the United States, they barely could pay rent and everything. They struggling. That's how much education everywhere else they appreciate it. Here in America, they don't really appreciate education. That's why they tearing the schools down, making them turn them into lofts and condos and everything. So
Heavy, man. Yeah, it's a kind of to that point. You know, in China, they spend over $240 billion a year on educating their people, right? So you can go to China, if you're there, you can spend anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000 on education. The rest of it is picked up by the actual state, country, so to speak. And they spend worth $240 billion just on educating their people. That's a loss that the state is willing to take all the time, right? They eat that. It's like, this is what we need to do to get our people. But So I think we're talking about education on like multi different levels, right? So
that's exactly it.
you have like Brother Lawrence said in terms of knowing yourself. And we talk about the hood. Like literally, the hood is the hood because of the mindset.
Yeah.
I remember being younger and having to come outside and bleach and clean our front marble steps. Everybody on the entire block did that, right? And if everybody came outside, just took pride inside it on their block, in front of their homes, like the hood would not be the hood the way we see the hood today. Like we have the last say in it being the hood, right? They can do whatever they want to do. We have the last say with teaching our children what is the actual hood. Like we skirt around the issue sometimes, like the white man doing this, the white man doing that. And granted, you know, there are some vehicles in place that kind of contour some things not going easily in a minority community. However, we have the last say on what product comes out of our house. We have the last say of what our backyard looks like. We have the last say of what blinds is hanging up from our windows. We have the last say of what curtains, what in front of our house look like, what we inspect in front of our house, and what's the product going to be that comes out of our house in terms of our children, right? We have that last say for the most part, right? You know, you do have some single parents that have a hard time, but for the most part, we have the last say in the hood, like he was talking earlier. Like South Street was owned by black people at one time. It was beautiful, right? It was beautiful, right? But you know, for whatever reason, like I had said previously, like we're caught up into this whole meism mindset, and this meism mindset is kind of permeated throughout not just black people, but throughout a culture. It's a cultural thing, right? It's America. Right? And we think what's good for them is also good for us. And it has never been.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah, it has never been. Like, we have to determine what our end product is going to be coming outside of our house. I used to live at address 1762 South 3rd Street, right? And the product that came out of that house, for the most part, was a good product that my parents packaged up together, put on the scale. No, I'm good. Packaged up together and allowed to come out that house, and it wasn't going to be nothing else, right? If you ain't come outside, one, representing what we are doing on this inside of this house, representing yourself in a good fashion, representing who you ought to be, like this, you're not coming out of this house. You just keep it inside of the house. And we have to have that mentality of making sure that our children know who they are, like you said, Brother Lawrence, that we know who we are, that we're teaching our children who they are, right? It is, we can no longer skirt around the issue of you know, the white man is doing this to us. Like, we have the final say what the end product, for the most part, is going to be coming out of our house. Now, one of the things that I realized, and I'm sorry that I'm being long-winded, but one of the things that I realized is that we are all caught up in this paper chase, right? And especially for us men, because, you know, for those of us that are provisional, that are providing, that heck, just want to live, right? You want to have a meal tonight. You know, we caught up in a paper chase, and we have to be mindful that whole paper chase is somewhat of a construct. Like, we have to do that because we're providers. That's who we are. That's who we are. But I think on that same token, reverse side, we have to understand what that construct is, right? So let's like for a moment, we're paper chasing. We chasing money. Money, literally, as we know it, was invented in 1792. Like, literally. Like, we wrap our entire lives around something that was created in 1792. Like my waking moment, my going to bed moment, what I'm going to do to get this paper, to pay this mortgage, to pay this electric bill, to pay. And this is all a construct that was created to keep us on that chase. But once you have in your mind, like, all right, these are the things that I have to do, it's not who I am. Like, what's important to me is my children. and that once I pass this information on to them to make sure that they pass whatever I am teaching them on to their children, then we become kind of free. Literally, there's a liberty that comes with that when you free yourself from making money in the way that we think we have to make money. And another thing, like, we make money because we're classes. Like, it is what it is. Like, we want to be the cat that got the money, that cats can see we got the money, we got the car, and cats can see we got the car, we got the beautiful home. I have never met anybody who has a beautiful car, a beautiful home, a lot of money, and the only thing that other people can say is ooh and ah. They can't do nothing else. What you doing that chase for? So people can say ooh and ah because you got this brand new electrical whatever it is? It's like all you can do at the end of the day is ooh and ah. You can't get no more than that. It is our duty, it is our responsibility to free ourselves from that mindset, to teach our children. And so, because what we're doing, we're locking our children up in bondage because this is how they're going to spend their life on that paper chase. Who wants to be locked up in, like, that's crazy. Nah, this is what money is for. This is what life is about. You see your son right there? You see your wife right there? You look at them. That's what life is about. Because at the end of the day, each one of us sitting at this table, we ain't going no further than 2 generations in conversation. Like literally 2 generations, people gonna be talking about us than we done. If I ask any one of y'all, what's y'all great grandmom, none of y'all probably would even know. That's gonna be the same for us.
The terror.
All right, you different. You different.
I can go back for it.
Yeah, but you get my point.
I get your point. I can share with my children. Like, right. Rob know this. It was funny because my youngest son, talking about education, on September 3rd is my mother's birthday, and September 27th is my father. They both made that transition many years ago. So we always doing something for them for the month of September, right? So why my youngest son did not know my mother and my father's name.
Right.
So now,
wow.
So now his punishment was, just for that, every Sunday or Saturday when we pour libation, now you got to name my mother, my father, and your mother, mother and father, and you better know their grandfather, and you better pour libation for them. You know what I mean? Because the point is that I had to look at myself, what did I do for him not to know?
Right.
So what's your punishment?
Huh?
What's your punishment?
It's funny you said that. It's funny you said that. Because I said, okay, how do you not know? Because my mother and my father's name is run very rampant in our household. How do you not know their name?
Right.
So I had to look at myself. I said, okay, when I do libation or when I'm doing something for the ancestors, I says I'm not calling their names or whatever. How did he forget?
How
did it surpass? You know what I mean? So, and it's okay because I had to take self-inventory with me. Like, okay, I can't be hard on him.
Right.
I'm clear. You know what I mean? Every year we make my mother's favorite dish. We play her music, this and that, something to remember her, right? So you're right. I had to go back and look at myself. Where did I go wrong, or what step did I miss? Where was the disconnect at? Right. But like you said again, we had to make sure. That this generation knows us. 100 years ago, 200, in the future.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's a sin when you cannot call your ancestors' name, because that's where you're supposed to pull your strength from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely appreciate this dialogue this evening, because this is what hopefully we can do more on a larger scale. Every perspective that we just shared is on point, but look at some of the consistencies. We are still men leading the charge. Mm-hmm. We have a little bit different approaches, but we kept coming back to the importance of men leading the charge. And that's what's needed. That's what's required. Let's fight more. So the game is the game, as they say, right? Mm-hmm. The system is the system. Let's study it better together, but let's make demands.
Right.
Politically, we got to stop begging. We need to make demands. Yep, and need to meet people that's going to fit the demands. And sometimes it's difficult because we're not thinking outside the box. When we have someone that's in office, and yes, we all know many people in office that we like, that we get to know. But if it's certain things, and if we got to know them and we don't have a certain, like we should have to cook out to get things from them like that, because we're supposed to be what we say family,
Right.
we need to rethink our approach. But the consistency, even without the schools, just sharing this type of knowledge with each other and encouraging people to get stronger. You have a lot of young men out here who are doing a great job that we don't even talk about.
Right.
One of the young men I wanted to come out to the program, he didn't have time. He said, Mr. Williams, he said, there's a lot of us holding it down for our kids that we don't get to hear about. We need to find that out more. I said, thank you, my young brother. He's around about 28. But yet, we don't hear that. So those are the enlightenment things. And yes, media. That's why I'm doing this. Hopefully, we can start not going by what the media is telling us. Look in your neighborhood, your community. Stop typecasting who you think is not doing something and find out who is. And the biggest thing you should do is give somebody a handshake and a hug to help them out. Let them know that you're there. When I walk through my community, sometimes I've been the gentleman that come from an aggressive community by city standards. To me, it was a bunch of love, right? But I showed my presence. I showed my face. And sometimes people look for me to do more. Some things they ask me questions about that I don't even know nothing about.
Right.
But it's a presence. I'm that good kid. They got educated, but they still see me. And it's not a distance. And we need to recognize we all got that power. So when, like you said, when we get our education, we wind up moving away. We got to not move away. Even if you change your zip code, that doesn't mean you don't change your heart and do something. So the solutions for our young is right in front of us by everybody getting older and realize as long as you live and you keep learning. And your brain is not going to explode with learning more. I'd like for everyone to watching this video to please hit the like button and subscribe. And please give your comments and suggestions for any topics or any, just your comments about this particular show. I will answer, will respond. You will see at the bottom of the feed the social media pages that you can follow and join in the discussion for Real Talk for Men. And we are doing a breakfast in the city of Philadelphia, November the 4th, and it will be a monthly thing happening. But I want that breakfast to be going around the city and other areas, the other states. But when we get together, don't talk about sports. Let's talk about life. This form of education is big, so it's going to come back to another topic. No,
Eagles are out.
No Eagles, But it's not bad to discuss, but let's educate more on everything from economics, from financial. This is part 1 of education discussion. We will have a part 2, 3, we'll have up to part 100. But as we get together more, we had the big discussion, let's get more precise and let's work on resolutions that we can share with others or know about others. The real Congress passed a law about the loan forgiveness for education. It's out there. It's in public. We got to use it. They call this thing Title I money. I didn't know about Title I money until maybe 2010. It's something that came out in 68, 69 that was geared towards the black community. I found out about it in 2010. I never knew this existed. Don't even know much about it. It's still out there. But do any of our parents know that? Do our parents know their power? But we also got to get off labeling from the schools of our children with all these things. And you got these people getting their degrees in sociology, trying to make a living off of our kids. Everybody signing the paper. And then also we talk about industries. Industries are working. People are making money with our children and our babies. So the school is not failing. We're allowing it to fail our kids because we're allowing our kids to be the number 1 inventory in the prison system we all complain about. We got the wrong fights. Stop worrying about the Second Amendment. It needs something to be done with it, but that's not the issue. The First Amendment is what we need to talk about because we're the only community that allow nigga, bitch, and hoe to be said, and we not up in arms. And education, see Dolores Tucker, I never broke bread with her, don't know her personally, but in 1989, she was right. Looking at, saying, hold it, pump the brakes, what are we doing? These are the historical facts that we need to know. These things that we say get to know who we are, all these things affect who we are. And those are information that I hope that we can do more. So I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. I appreciate the time for this episode. Everybody, please hit subscribe and like on the page. And thank everyone and have a great evening.